We've hit the big 5-0 on Chit Chat, and we're celebrating with our first ever live broadcast. It's time to look back, maybe answer some of your questions, and just like our very first episode, we'll probably be talking about board games, Star Wars, and other important things. Welcome back to Chit Chat. This is episode 50, and hopefully you can hear my voice right now because this is live. We are doing our first ever live broadcast of Chit Chat. So, a few things that you're going to notice. We're going to have one camera tonight. It's going to be on all of us. Hopefully we won't make any mistakes, or else you'll know that we do some editing after the fact. We shouldn't, though. We usually do pretty well.
We'll see.
So today we're obviously going to talk about board games. We're going to talk about a bunch of different things. One of the things we're going to do is take some of your questions. We're going to ask each other some questions about all sorts of things. Like, I want to know where you were born, Jeremy.
Let's not talk about that.
No, I'm sorry. We can't. So we're not going to talk about that, but we're going to talk about a bunch of things. But before we get to any of that, Jeremy's got an announcement about the winners from last episode.
So you're going to see a bunch of games that we're giving away for this episode. However, we do have a winner for Time Chase and Jetpack Joyride. This is going to Aaron Clark. Aaron, all you need to do is email us at manvsmeeple@gmail.com, and you are going to receive your games. Now, we will sporadically throughout the show give away some of the games you see here, some other games as well. So just make comments, and you're going to be entered to win either now or after the broadcast. So
yeah, we will have some of those going after the fact, so people who watch the show after the fact have a chance to be entered, but we are going to give away a couple during the show.
I know people are up there watching right now, staring at those games.
Yeah, we got... Should we name them?
Yeah,
we've got Tainted Grail, we've got Dice Throne, you can probably share the details, Joan of Arc, Clank Legacy, and then a bundle of Cooper Island and Watergate from Capstone Games. So
they're all a bundle of some kind. So they're all coming with some extras, like Dice Throne will come with playmats and a promo pack. Tainted Grail's the Sundrop, and the
Monsters of Avalon.
Yeah, the Joan of Arc's gonna have a dragon.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
We'll talk about them as we get.
We're gonna hook everyone up is the point.
Yeah. So where do we want to start? Do we want to talk about? Do we want to talk about maybe games we've been playing, or just
I have
questions?
Since this is Chit Chat and this is Chit Chat 50, I want to start with something that people bring up all the time, or at least ask me, and I'm sure you guys have been asked this before.
Okay.
Why are you on Chit Chat?
Why am I on Chit Chat is the question. No, but the question is...
I'm just kidding, we tease.
So, Jeremy, you did videos for a long time under the Dragon Strike banner.
Yep.
And a lot of people have asked me, like, so is this just Dragon Strike? Well, no, this is something different. So...
Same channel.
Between the two of you, so you came up with the Man vs. Meeple idea. Like, how did that happen with you and David?
Oh, from Dragon Strike to Man vs. Meeple? Well... When did you do Dragon Strike?
Yeah, so the Dragon Strike stuff was from 2009 till late 2010, early 2011. And I did probably 250 videos.
You did a ton of videos in that time.
Yeah, it was a lot of videos.
It was just his hands, though.
Yeah, so, I mean, I was on camera, my face was on camera once. It was episode 50.
Was that Mansion to Madness?
What was it?
It was Betrayal at House on the Hill.
Oh, that's what it was. Yeah.
It has the fewest views, though.
I actually sat in a chair, and I turned myself around at the very end. And that's the only time my face was ever on camera. And it's really weird is when we started MVM, that first year, people came up to me and didn't know what I looked like, and they recognized me by my voice. And they, even during the conventions, for those 8 or 9 years after Dragon Strike, people would come up to me like, I know you, like I've heard you before, but I don't know who you are. Who are you? And I said, well, I do videos. They're like, are you Dragon Strike? I'm like, yeah. So I guess my voice.
You were like the unknown comic of board game media then.
It definitely wasn't a comic, but
no,
in that same vein for sure. So how we started MVM, like I stepped away for a long time of doing videos, and I've always had a creative side. I think everyone here at this, on these chairs has a creative side to us, and we all love games. So I wanted to come back in the industry, but do something a little bit different. David and I had hooked up from years ago when we both worked in the video game industry.
Yeah.
I worked at GameStop at the corporate level. He worked at a publishing company for strategy guides, and that's where we had met. And then, of course, the proximity. We both live in Indianapolis. So.
Yeah, I just bumped into him at like Game Preserve a couple times. You were playing Netrunner.
Yeah, and then we just decided to just kind of try it. And
we took a formula. We were looking at what other people do for video games and movies, and nothing against anything else that anyone's doing in board game media, but we wanted to do sort of that IGN type approach. for board games. So we built a set, which you can't see, that I'm gesturing to over there, which is our normal set. And then it was just a year later we did this and started Chit Chat. Yeah, so I mean, just to take it back, Chit Chat episode 1 was about this time, or a little earlier in the year in 2017. It was 2 weeks after Gen Con 50, which doesn't seem that long ago, right?
No.
It really doesn't.
And interestingly enough, I was watching that episode a little bit today because I was pulling some images from it. And listening to us talk about Gen Con 50 was really, really interesting because it just seems like those games were just, to me, like just yesterday. Like, I think that's when you saw Azul behind closed doors, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So the original Azul, and I don't even think you talked about it on that episode because I think it was kind of
Hush-hush.
Yeah.
a little hush-hush. And now you find us today, we're just playing, Azul Summer Pavilion. In fact, they just announced another thing, that expansion,
Mosaic.
the Mosaic
First
for the
one.
original Azul. But it's just interesting to look back at that time and realize that was a time where Azul didn't exist, and now we've got like four different sort of...
And a fourth on
Yeah.
the way. Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's where Man vs. Meeple started. And, of course, when we first started Chit Chat, Gary was with us.
Yeah, he sat right here.
Yeah, so Gary is... He's a
Hopefully
physical
in the
therapist.
comments.
Yeah, he's a physical therapist. He has a lot of work, and
We keep him in the attic.
yeah, no. So he had to move on, but he's always around. He still games
mask.
with us. And Kira is local. She's been in the hobby
Hey,
for
he's in
several
the
years.
chat.
Gary's in the chat, everybody.
That's right.
So she joined us. So here we are now.
Yeah,
49 episodes later.
Gary decided that life and his kids and his family was important.
Yeah,
And
his priorities are messed up. What can we say?
That's right. There's not only so much time in a day. So, but yeah, it's hard to believe that this has been 2 years. I mean, it both feels like we've been doing this forever and also feels like we just started.
Yeah, we were actually talking a little bit before we got on camera here about like sort of milestones in things that we enjoyed together, like The Force Awakens, and how that related to when we did Man vs. Meeple.
Yeah.
And we were thinking, well, surely The Force Awakens was out when we were doing Man vs. Meeple,
Right.
but it was not.
Yeah,
Like-
which is really crazy because Gary, of course, Gary that was here, he worked with my wife. My wife's a physical therapist as well, and that's how we met Gary. The first time we ever physically met Gary was at The Force Awakens,
Yeah.
at the premiere of the
In
show.
fact, when we met him there, I don't even think you knew his name. He was like, there's a guy who builds droids that works with my wife here. And we met Gary at The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
And then I think from that point forward, we started playing games with him. And then I think we met you through Gary, right?
Yeah, Gary just invited me over to play some games with us. We all played. Actually, I think Manhattan Project might have been the first game we ever played together.
even
Really?
Yeah.
I'm glad that has a special place in
It
your
does
heart,
have, because it was at one of the indie cons.
You're talking
Indie
about
con
Energy
is
Empire.
Energy
right?
Energy
Empire.
Empire.
Yeah,
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a good time. Well, it's kind of like that with Kira too, because the first time I met Kira was probably almost like maybe 8 years ago now.
Oh,
No, not
When
that
did
long,
Action Phase
8
start?
years ago.
6 years ago.
6 years. Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
6 years
Oh, that's
ago.
close.
Maybe
Still a
almost
while
7
ago.
now. It's been a
Almost
long time.
whatever Action Phase, but I didn't we met a lot off and on because you worked with Action Phase Games, which was a local or tangentially worked with Action Phase
Well,
Games.
yeah, it's such a weird story. So I worked for an agency here in Indianapolis, digital marketing, and one of the guys that started that agency also was helping start Action Phase Games, and he just kind of walked up to me one day and was like, my friends are doing this board game thing, and they don't really know marketing. Can you help them with their Kickstarter? It's like a comic book board game. I think you'd be really into it. And I was like, sure. And it just kind of, that's how that whole thing started. That's how I
I had
joined
the
in.
early days of Kickstarter.
Very early days of Kickstarter,
Yeah.
before Kickstarter was Kickstarter of now.
And a super interesting story. You're talking about Travis Chance with
Yeah.
Action Phase. So another very
And
interesting
Nick Little.
story for you people that don't know some backgrounds here
Yeah.
about me. So Travis Chance, who now works at Colossal, has been a friend of mine for probably 20 years now. He lived in Indianapolis for some time, and we played Star Wars and Magic and all kinds of other LCGs together and CCGs together for years. And he moved away to New York, and we didn't really keep in touch too much, but he met up with me at Gen Con probably, 5 or 6 years ago. He walked up to me. He was very new to the board game industry, but he said, I'm really interested in board games, and I was watching some YouTube stuff, and I heard a voice, and I could have sworn it was you. And he found out that I was Drakenstrike and I was doing board game stuff, which we had never done together, in the
really?
15 or so years that we had been, playing other games together. So it's very interesting. So we have that connection.
Small world.
And Travis.
Small
Right, and then
world.
and then who knew? Like, I never would have thought that Kira and I would end up doing, our MVM Live every Wednesday together. Who knew if you'd ever see anybody again,
Yeah,
right?
it's been a long time. And this is the last of our way back when stories about how we met. But I think my first memory of you, Ryan, is you bought my copy of Time
I remember
Stories.
that, yeah. I did.
Like I had bought Time, and that was we were.
That was a long time
We
ago.
were doing
Played
MV.
it, and I hated it.
He did.
Right.
He did. He hated it then, but then he's turned around and not hated it.
But that was right after MVM started, because I
Pretty
knew
close.
I knew
Pretty
Jeremy. That's how I ended up buying your Time Stories. Was because
My theory is that Ryan only bought Time Stories to sort of as a Trojan horse to get into MVM.
That's it.
That's it, and it worked.
It was also because you were selling it really cheap.
I was selling it pretty cheap.
That's all.
What you saw? How much was it?
I
Not too much.
couldn't tell you.
I guarantee
really
you I didn't
can't
go too
remember.
cheap.
Like
Probably
20
30,
bucks,
40,
30
50.
No, it wasn't even
no.
that. It was like 20, 25, I think.
Maybe, okay.
I don't know. It was a long time ago.
That's hilarious.
We've
That
got
was
a lot
pretty
of
funny.
friends in the chat, so I am trying to keep up with you in here. Thanks. Gary shared that before he ever met Jeremy, his
Uh-oh.
wife, who I worked with, let me borrow his Kings of New York. Then I met
That's
him, like
true.
he said, at the premiere of Force Awakens.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's kind of funny. So
It's really weird too because I don't lend out my games.
No!
often. I wonder
We
why.
know.
Maybe
Some
I was just
random
trying to
person?
get him
Did
into the
Gary
hobby.
return it badly, and that's why you don't return
I
it?
still have that. Surprisingly, I still have King of New York.
Really?
and Clay from Capstone's in the chat.
Hey,
Rob from Blue Pink Pigs in the chat.
Nice.
Lots of
What's up?
friends, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Somebody said they wanted to talk about Magic Monday, and I just want to. Is it because you want to talk about how bad Ryan is?
Oh!
So
We
funny.
talked about that on Wednesday too.
We did talk about this on Wednesday. I mean, I'm generally like a pretty good Magic player, but there is something about playing online in front of people that you just make stupid mistakes. And I made this really dumb mistake. I searched for a card that I didn't have the mana to play, which makes sense in Magic terms. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is such a bonehead move. J.R. Honeycutt, who is another game designer in the industry, and Mike Mihilsek, who's another, called me after that on speakerphone just to make fun of me for like 30 minutes for making such a boneheaded move.
Appropriate.
I've definitely
So-
been having side conversations while you were playing about how bad you were playing.
I like that
mean,
you're playing
it's-
though. I like
I
that
love
you're
watching
taking
it.
advantage
I'm
of
learning a lot
It's
about
I
it.
think
It's
that's
really-
cool too. And as someone who doesn't really understand Magic, I actually find it fascinating just to watch and kind of like absorb some of what you're doing. But it's clear that people who've played Magic for years know a lot more than people who haven't
They have
played
a very
Magic much at
specific
all.
dialect. The way
Yeah.
that you listen to a Magic speaker, and I've played
Yeah,
Magic
there's
for
language.
years too. There's a language that they speak in that if you're not native to it, it becomes it's very, very weird to listen to. But if you understand the vernacular of it, it's very, very rhythmic. Like it's so cool to listen to someone talk about Magic. And
Yeah,
get into it.
I try to dial that back a
watching
little
it.
bit.
I've never played Magic. I know a little bit to get by as far as the speak, if you will. But mostly it's like watching you speak a foreign language when I watch. I'm doing my best to learn because I'm super intrigued by it all. But
And I enjoy the game, and
it
really,
seems like it's very difficult to build a deck in that game in the digital
I feel
environment.
I'd get destroyed.
we're actually going to be talking about that next Monday.
oh,
So
there
that's-
you go. So,
It's easy.
So
I
my
mean,
mic needs to go up a little bit.
do you remember which one you're on?
I
Because that's
don't.
what I've been trying to figure out.
uh-oh.
Who knows? Just turn them all up.
Just-
Well,
just
no,
boost-
everybody was. They were saying
fine.
David and Ryan were.
We'll
blown
figure it out. Maybe I
so.
just need
Oh,
to
well,
go
I'll
lower.
just
We're
talk
just
quieter.
loud.
I'm just a
Yeah.
loud person.
You are
But
always
really,
loud.
it was just like I was playing Magic anyway, and it was like, can I bring some of this to MVM? And fans that don't know a lot about Magic can learn a little bit about Magic and maybe start playing Arena, because I think Magic Arena does a great job of bringing people into the hobby. And one thing that Jeremy and I have said over and over again is that being good at Magic, or at least knowing Magic, helps you in so many other board games.
yeah.
Because there's so many concepts that you just inherently learn from playing Magic that you'll see across the board.
Game management is a huge part of Magic, and almost all of the Euro games have some sense of managing your hand or managing resources,
Or a deck.
or a deck of cards, or a tableau in front of you. And Magic is a really good catalyst to be able to learn those skills and then take them into things and be competitive. I think that's why you and I are so, when we sit down and play a game, these two are very, very non-competitive mostly, but they'll let us sit back and just hammer each other into oblivion, and that's how we
It's
play
so
games.
fun to watch.
Let's go ahead and unpack that just a tiny bit.
Sure.
It's not that we just let you. We don't want to get involved in that little back and forth. It's just best to let you guys hash it out. But I mean, I'm competitive in the right environment. I think a lot of times there's a lot of games we play. David and I will both kind of want to explore.
Yeah, that's all. I'm all about just exploring. I really, literally, and it's probably an excuse for just losing all the time, but I just enjoy the journey, as I've said a million times before, but it's probably just because I never win.
Really quick.
Although I do win sometimes. Whenever we play a game like the first time, it's my opportunity to beat Jeremy because he's like learning it, and the luck plays more of a factor at that point. So that's my opportunities to win some games.
Do we want to give something away really quick?
Yeah.
We should.
Go ahead.
What do you want to give away? One of these?
Well, let's give away Clank first. So
Clank Legacy.
So we did a review on Clank Legacy. It's one of the games we want to give away because it's really high up on all of our lists. It is a legacy game. It's a deck building game, and it's played over 10 different scenarios or episodes or whatever you want to call it. It's a fantastic game. It's probably going to hit several of our top 10s this year. It's from Renegade and Direwolf Digital. We are going to pick a winner in the next couple minutes. So make comments now to be entered to win, and we'll get a copy, brand new, shrink wrapped, over to you.
Well, and while we're waiting for me to pick a winner, there's a couple of people who brought up the M table, and they want to know the story behind it. I imagine you just found an M table in my head.
Yeah,
but is there a story?
That's
here?
about as exciting as it gets.
It's a Hobby Lobby special. I don't know.
There you go.
It was Hobby Lobby, right?
It was Hobby Lobby.
There's kind of, this M table, it was a good find, but it matches the aesthetic. So I guess. Why this aesthetic for Chit Chat in the first place?
This is just, for Chit Chat, let me start with the other set. The other set is very much liberally inspired by some sets that we've seen on a channel called Collider, which does movie content. They don't use a set like that anymore, but their set was very similar to that, and we liked the format with that table. This set, what would you say, is probably most inspired by the Nerdist set a little bit?
I mean, yes,
but we like this aesthetic too.
Yeah.
Rob says it's a W.
It's a W sometimes.
It's all about perspective. Right?
I like to think it's a W.
Also, Rob calls us WVW, so I don't know.
WVW.
Yeah, instead of MVM. Rob sees everything upside down.
Oh, I see. Nice one.
Thank you.
That's good.
That's the kind of thing that you might find edited out when we do this not live.
So, Eric Swenson.
Email
us at
What?
manvsmeeple@gmail.com for please, obviously we ask you for this, send your address and your phone number as well, because the publisher will need that to ship it. And thank you again to Renegade and to Direwolf Digital for supplying us with this wonderful copy of this game to give to Eric.
And
Congratulations.
Let us know what you think of the game too. We loved it. I am super interested to know what you think, and if you like it, it's a fantastic.
Yeah, I was a great
Legacy
experience.
game.
I'm really enjoying these. We've been, the three of us at least.
Yeah, not me so much.
David, not so much, but
you don't invite me.
Don't always match up.
In all fairness, you're not a big
We should talk about the kind of gamers we are.
We should talk
Let's
about
talk about it. It feels like this is just going to be
Legacy,
picking on me for a moment.
No, with Clank Legacy, so to Eric actually said in the comments, surprisingly enough, he never played Clank. Neither had I, and so I really enjoyed.
Before
Clank.
Legacy?
Yeah, I'd never played it before Legacy, so I really enjoyed Legacy. I didn't need to know the history of Clank in order to get into it. So Eric, I hope you really enjoy it. But we play a lot of the three of us will play a lot of campaign games together. Our schedules tend to match up okay. You've started a couple of them with us, and I think that's probably why you don't stick with them. Maybe because your schedule, we like to power through it.
Well, I mean, our schedules, it is challenging to match up our schedules. I also have a game night with a couple of buddies of mine that I try to hold to so that it doesn't just become all things MVM. And there's some campaign games, too, that I like to save potentially. Like Clank Legacy, and for example, when I get a copy of that, I'm probably going to play it with Alicia and maybe her son and see if that's a game that we can play through. We tried that with Near and Far, but we kind of got through like maybe 4 of them before we peter out. The other thing is, and we've said this a million times, then there's the next new game comes out, and I always get distracted by that.
Yeah.
Not to mention the fact you guys sit down and play for a lot longer than I want to sit down and play.
For the longest time, I would consider myself, just to go, I'll get into that point, I consider myself a Euro gamer. Like, I hated anything that had dice, and I mostly still don't like dice for just pure determination in a game. But I consider myself a Euro gamer for a long time. Now I consider myself more of an Omni gamer. Like, I'll play anything, and I'll play it at least once. But when it comes to, like, campaign games, I'm the kind of person that, whether it be a board game or a video game, or even a movie or a TV series, that will sit down and totally tune into that until completion. Like, I can play a game for 40 hours. I mean, I know that sounds ridiculous, but I could. I could easily play a game from beginning to end.
You've probably come close to that on some video games.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
40 hours straight?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've said
Jeremy doesn't sleep.
I mean, you have too.
I
played EverQuest for.
I played World of Warcraft like crazy.
Oh, over a period of time.
Yeah, I'm just saying in a row.
In a row.
I've fallen asleep at my computer on my keyboard before playing games. Like.
Okay.
Well, I'm super.
You know I do this because we'll play video
that's
games
true.
and you guys will be like, Kira got quiet.
Well, she'll fall asleep.
Oh, really?
Middle of a game.
Playing Borderlands?
She's falling asleep playing Borderlands. Like, I can hear her snoring.
I'll wake up and I'm like in a rock. Like,
running
crap.
into a rock.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
I actually know this for a fact. The longest I ever played a video game was 28 hours straight.
What game?
It was God of War 3.
What?
Because I just...
Wait, how many hours straight?
28.
It took you that long to beat God of War 3?
Yeah, God of War, that's a long game.
It's a long game.
I just decided I was going to do it. Well, I took a meal. I paused it to eat, right? So, like, I just knew I really I had a free weekend. I was like, I'm just going to sit and play this game until I'm done with it. I thought it was going to be much shorter. So, I didn't, but I was like, I stuck to it.
Here's a
like
good
that.
question.
I mean, yeah.
On this note of video games and board games, when you get attracted to a video game, do you see similarities in how you get attracted to board games, like theme, developer, art? You guys want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, for me, for sure. Visuals are always a big key element for me. And it doesn't mean that I need specific types of visuals, although I do have some that I gravitate towards. But in video games, it just has to have a unique look to it. Like, we've played Borderlands a lot. If you've never seen Borderlands, that definitely has a unique style that is all its own. Other games will come out and people will go, oh, that looks like Borderlands, or if they've tried to do a similar sort of thing. So that's key to me. Other than that, I like to steal your Omni Gamer comment. I'm that way for board games, but even more so with video games. I play all sorts of different video games. Shooters, Metroidvania style, I mean, RPGs, everything, you name it.
I mean, I think for me, I'm drawn to mechanics in board games. I could honestly care less about a theme. And while that doesn't really, I mean, video games still, like this new Star Wars game coming out tonight, the theme of that game just attracts me 100%. But if I hear a game has really tight mechanics or does something really interesting, and it could be, like games like Harvest Moon, where you're just farming, right? Like, that theme is not appealing to me at all. But I found that game incredibly addictive. Or Animal Crossing for, the GameCube. But, like, those aren't games you'd think that I would normally consider playing.
Scott and Natalie Ackermans say Ryan is about as good at God of War as he is at Magic, apparently.
Ouch.
Oh. That God of War 3 was a beast.
Only joking.
It's a
Only
long
joking.
game.
God of War 3 was rough.
Yeah, it was a good game, though. Really good.
I didn't play that until probably in the last 5 years.
Really, I played the day it came out. I got it and just
Yeah.
went through it. I wish I could still do that kind of thing.
As for me, the games that draw me in are the games, especially board games, are the ones that give you kind of like, not a sandbox, but they give you the tools in order to explore the game at your own pace. Like, a good example that's Underwater Cities. Like, Underwater Cities gives you all of these tools, all these mechanics, and all these different cards, and then it's up to you to explore and best put those pieces together. Terraforming Mars is another one of those games where your ability to do well is your ability to build a good engine. And there are many games like that they give you those tools, and then the players themselves are going to be good or bad depending on how well they do. And those are the kind of games that draw me in and keep me hooked for years. So.
And that reminds me of another thing I love in all games, video and board games, is exploration and discovery.
Yeah.
Like, definitely in video games. There's not a video game I've played where I'm walking along and I look up at that mountain, like Skyrim or Zelda, and think, I wonder if there's something at the top of that. And then you can go up and check it out, and there is, and there's a payoff there. Same thing with Terraforming Mars and Underwater Cities to a lesser degree. You start that engine, and then as you're getting new cards throughout the game, you might find that card that's like, oh, this is perfect for what I'm trying to do. And you have to sort through that, and because there's a draft, it makes it a very exciting experience to discover what's in that giant stack of cards.
For if you play with the draft, which
Yeah.
I always will play with the draft with Terraforming Mars. But I think that brings a good point. Like, how likely are you guys to use variants or house rules over just like the normal rules of a game?
That's an interesting question.
I never.
Never.
I never use house rules. No, I mean, the game's intended and designed to be played a very specific way, and I want to play it that specific way. If it doesn't play right, then I will go on to the next game. There's more than enough games to play by the rules of the designer. So, I mean, if you enjoy a game and you want to house rule it and everyone's fine with it, then that's your game. Do whatever you want to do with it. But
there have been some
don't play that
recently where I felt like I almost wanted to consider if there was a house rule. I can't even remember what it was. But what I think we're seeing more recently is a lot of games are developing so many different ways to play them. I'm thinking of Nemesis right now. The base version of Nemesis, or the main way that you're intended to play, is semi-co-op. But I think they have co-op. You can solo that game as well. So they've given you some other options so that you don't necessarily have to play it one way.
I've got a question here from Music Man that I want to ask.
Yeah, there's a
Oh,
couple
Music
of questions.
Man.
I also want to make sure that we say hi to Jeremy Howard, also on the MVM team,
Hey,
who's
J-Hal.
tuning in from Wisconsin, saying hi. If you guys talk to him in the chat, say hi.
So this question is actually really important. I want us to answer this. Music Man 2 says, if I can ask, how often do you play a game that you say missed the mark completely?
Completely?
Yes. Well, the first thing I'll say before we get into our answers, let them think about that. This gets asked to us all the time. Why don't you review more crap games? Like, why there's games that you play that you don't like, review them because people want to know to avoid them. That's true, and that's very, very true. But there's 3,000 games that come out a year, and I personally don't want to spend my time on a crappy ass game. Excuse my language, because it just doesn't do us any benefit from driving it into the ground. Number one, editing is not fun. Like it's a long process. We have to play the game multiple times. We have to take pictures of the game because of the way that we edit. Then we have to film it, and then we have to edit, and then we have to post it, and that's all work. I mean, that takes several days processed in order to do. If a game is bad, just go to the next good game. There's plenty of great games to talk about.
Yeah, just imagine playing a bad game and how you feel after playing it, and then going, let's play it more and do some work with this game.
Yeah. So to go back to the question, are there games that missed the mark? Yeah, there's a couple games this year that missed the mark. One of them we just played.
Oh yeah,
and that's Orleans
head went right
Stories.
there.
Like, we love Orleans Stories. I mean, don't get us
No,
wrong. This is one
Orleans. Yeah.
I was gonna say, we do not love Orleans
You love
stories.
Orleans. This is like one of your top.
Oh,
three
it's
games,
my
right?
number one.
Yeah, the game, and you haven't played it yet. And
I haven't played
I'm
Stories.
not going to play it with you because I don't like the game at all. It's really long. It's a really not very interesting story. There's these weird
It's not really a
mechanisms that
story.
don't. Yeah, it's not really a story. These weird mechanisms that don't quite gel. Nothing ever feels like it's making a difference. It fell really flat for the three of us when we played the game. So.
Yeah, I would say that, like, to the point of why we don't spend the time on the bad games, I would say if you see us not talking about a game at all, then that's pretty much our review, right? Like, it didn't do anything for
Not
us.
necessarily. I mean, there's plenty of good games we play and then we don't end up reviewing, but yes.
Sure, but we'll at least talk about it with pictures or something on social media. I mean, I posted about Orleans Stories because I was curious if anyone else had played it, but overall, I mean, it just didn't. I mean, like, I think I even sent a message to Andrew. I was like, they can keep their stories. I just go back to regular.
And I'm still getting a copy of it. I pre-ordered a copy. I will try it for sure.
It looks very nice.
I think
and I think people should make up their own mind about the game,
it just
whether
wasn't
or
for
not
us.
you like it. It didn't hit for us. And again, going back to that, we're probably not going to cover it because we really don't want to spend any more time with it.
I think there's a lot of different reasons that games can miss the mark. For Orleans Stories, for me, it was because it took the part of Orleans I like the most, which is that point salad aspect of like grabbing points from all these different paths. And they just took points out of the game completely. So
it became very much.
It became a race game, which is like not for me at all.
Super confrontational.
So I think games can miss the mark when it's not what I expected or wanted it to be. I think games can miss the mark when they feel not. I don't want to say overpowered or broken. I hesitate to use the word broken, but you play some games and you're like, this was not play tested well. This was not thought out. Like there's certain things in this game that are just so
for us, we would consider them bad. So some people are saying things are bad. That's kind of the point. For us, it didn't hit the mark on the things that we expect out of a game. To somebody else, like Rob's in here saying he's still going to get it. David's saying he's still going to get it. They may not see those things as bad to them. To us, they were. So just to that point, let's see. Do we have any other questions we want to jump into and get off the bandwagon?
From John Wheeler says, do you guys like Trismegistus? I'll answer that. I do like the game. It's just really, really complex.
It is super heavy. Yeah. It is very interesting, but it is a heavy game. If you're wanting to, it's probably one of the heaviest games of the year, right?
Yeah, easily.
I want to play this. Here, I have a story, and this is why I haven't played this game yet. Because you and Kira went to play it, I think? Or maybe all three of you.
We played it at Gamma.
We played it
Which
at
one?
Gen Con.
At Gen Con, you went to play it. What was that?
We played it.
At like 6 p.m., I think you guys went to play it.
It was late.
Trismegistus.
And I texted you at 1 a.m., and you said you were just finishing. And that was when I was like, I'm not sure that this is the game.
Well, you have to remember we had the teach as well, and it was a 4-player teach on top of it. And, the teach was good, but it was late. We weren't really, we'd had a long day.
There's a lot of moving pieces, and there's a lot of, planning, longer term planning, which is not sort of my cup of tea. One other thing I wanted to mention about the games missing the mark or not, the type of games that really sort of flood our time is games that are okay.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. They're not bad. They're not great, but they're okay.
Yeah.
And we find ourselves, because there's so many games now, we can barely even spend the time on those to give them a spotlight. And again, that's why if you look at our channel, it is kind of, we talk about this all the time. We look at our channel, we go, oh, our last 4 reviews were MVM approved. Mm-hmm. But it's because we're really spending our time sort of on the cream of the crop.
Those are the games you really liked. You wanted to take the extra time out of the video load.
Yeah, and we absolutely want to make sure everyone knows as early and as often, this game is awesome. You got to go check this out.
So Yellow Sun says, could you provide a list of games you play each week and then just communicate it somehow? So one of the things that I'm going to be doing starting on Sunday nights, hopefully this Sunday is my goal. I've done all my testing, is going to be the weekly rewind. So I'm going to go over the games that I've played with the guys or even on my own.
And we'll report to her too and say what we've played.
So I'm going to ask, what did you guys play? I want to talk about it, give me some pictures, maybe have a couple games with me so I can actually pull out some of the components on camera. But that'll be Sunday nights going forward. So for those of you wanting to know more about just kind of what we play, and I'm planning to give honest impressions like we are right now. So thanks for asking.
Got some questions here. A lot of people have asked me, and I'll answer this, about Black Angel. A lot of people asked whether or not I like it and why we didn't review it. I do like the game. Most people know that Trois was and still is my favorite game of all time. I think Trois is one of the very few perfect games for me. Black Angel is very good, but it's very different. The one thing I don't like about Black Angel is that it inherently doesn't have a way to score points. You have to understand the systems in the game to score points. There's no card you're going to play to natively get points from it.
Right.
And most people aren't going to like that. They like that I say this word all the time, that feedback loop of doing something and getting something in return.
Quickly.
Yeah, Black Angel is a game where you have to prep. You have to do a lot of things to do one thing. Those kind of games don't appeal to me initially. There has to be something really special about them for those to appeal to me. And that game just doesn't have the feedback that I like. But I still like the game mechanically.
Yeah, so this is what I'd say. What I know about Jeremy is, in a world where Trois didn't exist, Black Angel would be much heavier on your mind, I think.
Probably.
Because I think when a game like that comes out, you want to compare it to something. And this happens with a lot of games. A game comes out and we want to compare it to something else. The next Stonemaier game comes out, everyone wants to compare it to the last Stonemaier game, even though they may be completely different games. So when you do that, you sometimes give that new game kind of a harder task to climb up.
Mm-hmm. All right, here, let's do another giveaway.
Ryan's leaning over to give away another game.
Yes. A flash giveaway.
So we're going to give away mental blocks, and grab the other cube for me, because I want to...
Oh yeah, whatever this cube is.
So this has been played.
Or are you giving that away?
I'm giving this away.
Really?
I want people to experience this. This, number one, mental blocks. We're going to give that away right now. This is from Pandasaurus. It is a 3D abstract game which you're trying to build structures. It's very cool.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
And then I have this. This is called the Clue Box. It's from ID Venture. It is just basically a puzzle box.
You got it at Essen, right?
I did. We saw Rodney running around with this from Watch It Played, and then we saw Scott Alden from, of course, Aldi from BGG. I've played it. I've beaten it. It's super fun.
My husband's like halfway through.
This is a game that I don't need to keep because I know how to solve it, but I want other people to experience, so I'm going to give both of these away.
Super fun.
This one from MVM and this one personally from me because I bought
Two different
it at
giveaways?
Essen.
Two different giveaways?
Two different giveaways or one person?
Let's do 2 different giveaways.
Yeah.
This one here, are you able to reassemble it pretty
Yes,
well?
you can reassemble it.
Oh,
and give
cool.
this one off.
That's
So
cool.
I put it
That's
all
nice.
together
When
for
Chris
you.
inevitably finishes his,
Give it
which
away.
is what I will let you.
There you go.
Yeah, I'll
Take
give it
a
a crack.
stab
I'll
at
give it a
it.
crack.
Yeah.
I like that trend in games. Like, I love the Exit series, but
And Unlock.
Well, I was gonna say the reason that Unlock squeaks ahead for me is that I can pass the Unlock on. Exit,
Yeah.
once it's done, it's done. But I know several of the Unlocks I've played, I've given away, and several of the other ones I've played, I got from like you when you were done with them.
Yeah.
And that ability to pass, it's like letting your friend borrow a movie that you love, right? And then you get to talk about the experience and things like that.
It's really cool because those don't cost much. You don't mind, like we're collectors too on some level, but you don't mind giving that away. You can never play it again, really.
Right.
So passing it along, it's not a lot of money out of your pocket, and then the joy of knowing that, it's going to be given away. Hopefully that person, whoever wins that, then gives it away to someone else.
Hey, right.
I've got winners. So Zach Warner
Zach Warner,
for the puzzle box.
congratulations,
Email
Zach.
us at manversusmeeple@gmail.com. And
Mental Blocks goes
to Ryan Nichols. 5 boys that love puzzles and things. Mental Blocks will be good for that.
There
That
you
was
go.
his whole name.
Yes.
That was his whole name, yeah.
Ryan Nichols, just in case there's more than one. I'm afraid there's so many people in the chat. I hope I'm catching that there's only one.
Well, it's
of your
nice to
names.
read it's nice to know the
Yes.
comment, too,
Yes.
the comment that one.
And yes, and Zach's wife loves puzzles. So those 2 people that said
Nice.
those things, email us at manversusmeeple@gmail.com. Address and phone number, please, so we can ship these things along to you.
Yes.
All right, before we get to our next question from people, I have a question I want to ask you guys.
Yeah.
One of the things that we've talked about here on the show from time to time are not board games. We've talked about movies. We've talked about video games. And I'll be candid with you. And then some of you might be watching right now. Some of you say, hey, I tune in to watch board games. And some of you, on the flip side, will say, this is fun. We get to, that's how I type.
That's how David types.
All I can see is Jim Carrey in that one movie typing.
But I want to ask you guys, and maybe you can share in the comments, and we'll talk a little bit. This is also a segue to talk about these things. How do you feel about us talking about movies? Because we are obsessed with things like The Mandalorian right now, and Star Wars. Fallen Jedi is coming out.
Fallen Order?
Fallen Order?
Well,
Jedi Fallen Order?
Literally on the plane to Essen, I was trying to order our tickets for the next Star Wars movie
Right.
because they came out while we were on the plane. I was like, I gotta get these ordered. They're selling out.
Yeah,
too
we
fast.
were
So-
all obsessed with Disney Plus, just like everyone else seemed to be a couple days ago. I'm wondering right now when The Mandalorian is going to post.
The next
Is it
episode?
tonight at midnight? Is it tomorrow at 9?
Tonight at midnight.
Is it at
Come on,
midnight?
Yeah.
All right,
Ooh,
so I have
that
to
or
stay up late for
what's-
dual Star Warsing.
Yeah, am I
That
gonna
is-
play first or watch Mandalorian first? I don't know.
Also, Rob says 100th episode is a musical, so
Oh, we gotta
Our
start
100th
preparing for
episode?
that
he
now.
said our 100th
that's
episode should
good.
be a musical.
We'll
He
do
has
it.
spoken. He has spoken.
we'll
So
do
yeah,
it.
tell us what you guys think. What are people saying?
Yeah, let us know about that. And while you're thinking, what do you guys think? What's our thumbs
think-
up, thumbs down on The Mandalorian?
I think let's spend the next 30 minutes talking about The Mandalorian.
not.
No.
But that show is
30 minutes?
I easily could. I really,
Sure.
really liked it. I thought it was a great entry
midnight.
point into this version of the universe. So.
I agree.
We've been told it's at midnight.
I am a avid opponent of The Last Jedi. I hate it.
We know.
Well, I just to frame the question
Just
here.
kidding.
On the flip side, I think Rogue One, along with Gary, is probably one of my favorite Star Wars movies. I actually just watched it 2 days ago.
So did I.
I love that movie. Like, I am so in love with Rogue One. It's a fantastic Star Wars movie.
Phenomenal.
Mandalorian just hit all the right notes for me. I loved it. The moment when IG-11 started doing his stuff, like, I was just like,
Yeah, we don't want to spoil anything.
well, I mean,
Watch
that's
it
already
as
the
soon
trailer.
as you can because there's a lot of
It's
stuff
really
packed into
good.
that first
Gary's
episode.
in here saying post chit chat shows when he was actually here in person and not just in spirit. You guys would spend hours talking about things like Star Wars usually.
We
still do
when
a
It
there
little
was
bit of
usually
that.
you and Gary versus David and Ryan.
Well,
it
with The
sounded
Last
like.
Jedi anyway. With The
Yeah.
Last Jedi anyway.
That's true. Not that I loved The Last Jedi, but I thought it was acceptable.
Same here.
You loved
And
it.
we've probably dialed back our love for the movie since there were issues, but I'm fine with
I
it.
mean, definitely had issues.
I mean, I think I don't know. I mean, you guys know If it's Star Wars, I'm
You're in?
generally in. There's no reason not to be in. I finally now with Disney Plus have access to Rebels, so I've been watching that.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to start Rebel. I've watched some of it in the past, but I want to start from the beginning and watch it all the way through.
To the point where, I remember when my parents were moving to Florida, I have a brother that was born when I was in high school, so he was just only a few years old when the move was happening, and he came to stay with me while they were packing, and I introduced him to all Star Wars in order at the time, including the micro series that Cartoon Network did.
Oh, that is awesome.
Was phenomenal, which is not on Disney Plus.
No, because it was Cartoon Network.
There's a few things lingering. They'll hopefully they'll pull those rights back in and get it on Disney Plus eventually.
Disney Plus has been incredible. Like this phenomenon is just like everywhere I look now, everyone is watching Disney Plus and has Disney Plus.
It is pretty crazy in the world of. I mean, there's plenty of streaming services. I've never seen anyone react to it like this. People are like listing. Here's my first 9. Like the 9 things I'm watching first, and these are not these are things like Rescue Rangers and DuckTales. Robin Hood.
Dude, I would tell you, I've been watching the new DuckTales, like that started in like 2017. I've been watching that nonstop. That show is so good. It's like everything I loved about DuckTales when I was a kid, but like they knew that their audience has grown up, and while it appeals to kids, there's so much in there for adults,
or maybe they know that their audience hasn't grown up.
Well, maybe that's the case. It's just great. The new
so
DuckTales.
now we're gonna get back to board games now.
We have a question specific to that. Yeah. Favorite designer for each of us? John is asking his is
board game designer?
Danielle Tassini, right? So yes, board game designer.
Daniel Tazzini.
Yep.
Who was asking?
That was John Wheeler.
John Wheeler.
Ryan,
why don't you start? I mean, I got a plenty.
I mean, there's lots of designers I love. I think if I'm looking at a favorite designer, it's one designer who's never let me down, and that's Alexander Pfister. Every single one of his games that I've played, I have loved even. Some of my favorite games of all time are games that he designed, including Great Western Trail, which is a game that still to this day I will get out and play Great Western Trail. I mean, that game is so good. And we just played Expedition to Newdale. Right? Am I saying that right? Mm-hmm. Which is based on the Oh My Goods universe, which is another game I love. And he did Blackout Hong Kong, which I love. And like Maracaibo just came out, and I am dying to play that. I just have not had the chance. Because any game if he comes out with a game, I'm gonna buy it, play it, guaranteed.
I agree. Pfister is fantastic. He probably would have been one of my top choices. The other one that always hits the nose for me is Rosenberg. Like I always like his classic games, his big games like Feast for Odin, Caverna, Agricola, those type of games, and even like the games that he contributes to in some way, like the Crystal Palace, which is a completely different designer. He's put his stamp on that. He has his own little blurb in there saying that he contributed to some of the development work in there.
Yeah, that's cool.
He's just a very, very smart designer. He does a lot of things in games that I enjoy.
Guess. It's gonna be Feld. Stefan Feld for sure. So Stefan Feld, there's not a game of his that I don't enjoy on some level. I love most of them. There have been some games that felt a little less Feld-ish. Oracle of Delphi is one that everyone always seems to go to and think, oh, that one wasn't really a great Stefan Feld game. I enjoyed Oracle of Delphi, and the thing that is in all of his games, including that one, are these little elements that you can just feel. If you didn't know Stefan Feld designed that and you played it, you'd think, hey, who designed this? This feels like something I've done in a Feld game. Just the way he uses dice and the way you can manipulate those dice and manipulate things and adjust things in the game. I just love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for me, I mean, I'm obviously a fan of Pfister and stuff. I'm kind of just learning about a lot of these games because a lot of the games I played when I first got into the industry were a gateway because my friends I was bringing them in. And so my favorite designer, and I don't see this changing, he'll always be one of my top designers, is Scott Alms, the designer of the Tiny Epic series, because I love that series and I will never stop loving that series. That doesn't mean that they're the only games he makes, obviously, but they are my favorite. He's got a whole bunch of new games coming out from a bunch of different publishers, not just Gamelin, and you're really just starting to see him branch out. So You've Been Eaten looked super cute. Cosmic Colonies. There's some other ones I know that are coming down the pipeline from Colossal and some others. And so I love Scott Alms. What he has done and brought to my table and to my gaming has been wonderful, and I love Tiny Epic. It's a great series.
I want to put you on the spot.
Sure.
What's your favorite Scott Alms? What's your favorite Tiny Epic?
Can I guess?
You can guess, but I don't want you to guess the next one.
I think I know what it is.
It used to be Tiny Epic Galaxies. Now it's Tiny Epic Dinosaurs.
Yes.
That's what I would say too.
Okay, now here's the tougher one.
And that's hard. And I'm not 100% sure, but it feels like Dinosaurs will probably take Galaxy's all-time place. Yes.
What's your least favorite one?
Do you want to guess?
No,
It's not hard.
Tiny Epic Zombies.
No.
Tiny Epic
Really?
Quest.
No. I liked Quest.
Western.
Yeah, I liked Quest.
There you go.
Tiny Epic
Tiny Epic
Western.
Western was definitely my least favorite.
Theme or
It wasn't the theme, though. I'm not generally like the biggest Western fan. It just didn't. It fell flat for me. There were a few different things in it, and because it might have been because the 2-player specifically for me, but because I play a lot of 2-player at home with Chris, and so we just. I can remember the last time we played it. I was finally winning against my husband, and he was like, yeah, something about it wasn't working, and he was right. I had noticed it before, and there's just something that wasn't quite right there, and then he quit mid-game, and
Yeah, that
so
happens.
because it was frustrating, and I had been frustrated by it before, but I tend to just finish the games anyway, and it was the newest one, so I wanted to play it a few times to make sure how I felt about it, but it just didn't do it for us, and it's never really come back out.
Michael Richard asked the question if any of you guys played any 18xx games. I can probably answer this for you. I know these two have not.
Yeah, go
I don't
down the
know
roll.
if you have.
I haven't. I've just always
All right.
because
Those are like civilization games and
No.
stuff, right?
no,
Train
Like
games.
Mega
Train.
Civ.
Train.
because what something David said earlier that I've like the way a game looks has always mattered
Yeah.
to me.
Those look beautiful, by the way.
Yeah, usually. So for those who don't know, 18xx games are like really detailed train games where you're buying and selling stock and creating train routes. And a lot of them are just like little cardboard pieces or like big hex maps that you're sometimes even drawing on.
Yeah.
And like now that I'm more into heavier gaming and that I've learned to kind of put theme aside, I'm more interested in those games
You wouldn't
now.
like 'em.
But I don't think because they're
I know
Do
you
you
long,
like 'em?
too.
I don't like. I don't like stock games. Anything that has
Yeah,
stock
I'm not a
in
big
them,
fan
I
of
am
that either.
generally not attracted to them. I played an 18xx game years ago, and it didn't draw me in, so I'll probably not go back unless something happens in
It
the
seems
genre that
too much like work.
involves it. It's not work, but it's definitely. I mean, it's definitely got an appeal to a certain kind of person.
There is one I would play though,
What?
and that's the City on Big Shoulders. That I'm just hearing everyone
Yeah,
say.
I've
If you
heard.
don't like 18xx games,
Try this.
Try this one. So
Yeah.
I'm definitely willing to give that one a try.
Let's give away Dice Throne.
Oh.
So this is Dice Throne Season 2 Battle Box. It's that giant chest.
Battle chest.
Battle chest.
Battle
Battle
chest.
Box
right
is
there.
only 2 heroes.
Yeah, so this is all the heroes.
For season
Absolutely
2.
love. It's Season 2, yeah. You're also getting all the promos for it, and you're getting a couple player mats. So, big prize. On
Huge
a-
bundle. That's a
prize.
great. You want this one?
This is, well,
You can't be in it.
No, I mean you.
I have
the,
it.
the royal you
I have it.
want
It's
this one.
like
People.
one of my.
You
It is
people.
my favorite game, probably.
Yeah, you really like Dice Throne.
So while you're looking up a winner, I do want to mention, since we talked about favorite designers, this is always a hard thing for me because the games I play most are actually not from any single designer, but I know we all generally love that just like Italian design group that put together the games like Voyager's Marco Polo and Grand Austria Hotel and
A lot of the
Coimbra.
guys at Cranio.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of like they all kind of work together a lot, and so like it's hard to pick out any one of those designers and say them. Like Grand Austria Hotel is one of my favorite games, and Lorenzo El Magnifico is just fantastic. All of that whole series of games, I'd play any of them.
You know, I'm going to bring this up. This is an interesting thing I'd pondered a couple weeks ago. Are there games that we feel are awesome, and you've met people who hate them?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Like something like Grand Austria. There's a lot of people who have a bad taste in their mouth about that because they probably played it 4-player and it was a little long and it just didn't land with them. And I'm always just shocked when I meet someone and I'm like, wait a minute, how do you not like this game? There are some people in the comments right now, I won't mention your name, who are
Rob.
not big fans of Energy Empire, which it just doesn't compute with me.
You've been called out, Rob.
I think it's one of the better worker placement games I've played. Period.
well, for me, it's games like Grand Austria Hotel or Terraforming Mars. And I'm like, I feel like Terraforming Mars is so easy to love, but there's people out there that just like hate it. Or Pandemic Legacy. There's like number 2 game on BGG that
Well,
there
I
are
mean-
people that just adamantly hate that game.
There's a section of games that you don't enjoy, and those are the games
Rod
that
is
are
here.
like 4 to 6 hours or 4 more hours. Like
Sure.
you won't.
I do not like long games.
Yeah.
I don't care what I'm doing. I mean, it could be It
You
could have.
wouldn't sit down and play Twilight Imperium.
No, I probably would not. I would not want to sit down and play Twilight Imperium.
Doing
Also,
the same thing. People come to you and say, "Well, how
For
could
sure.
you not?"
That's
sure.
true.
that?
But it is still hard. Like it's still like takes me like a second to be like, really? Like you hate
yeah, I'm not
Terraforming
saying it's
Mars?
wrong. I know I'm on the other side of that
Yeah.
fence at times. It's just when it happens to you and you're like, whoa, you don't like. Have you played Pulsar 2849? Yeah,
Right.
it didn't really like what? Like
Like,
how?
gaming is so subjective. And I
Yeah.
think that's something it's easy. It's hard to remember for us and for people out there that are watching our channel. People all the time are like, "Oh, I don't agree with your decisions on this. Why did this game get approved? Why didn't this one?" And it's just, it's so subjective, and people need to realize that. I know.
Hi, Rado.
Hey, Rado.
Somebody said hi, Jen.
Oh,
So
That's
maybe
pretty
Jen's
funny.
in there with him.
she might be.
Oh, he's got a question for us, but first, before we answer
Who's the
Rada's
winner?
question, Sarah Bevins, please email us at manvsmeeple@gmail.com with your address and phone number so we can get this wonderful prize over to you and you can experience Dice Throne. Hopefully you've played it before, but if not, you'll love it.
Yeah, it's
Yay,
really easy to learn.
congrats.
That's another one that I just can't see anybody just like hating, right? Because it's so easy to learn. It's so quick.
Well,
It's
I
like
mean, I could
play
see heavier, more enthusiast gamers might not
So-
be too turned on by
So
that dice.
Rado's got a question, but before I do Rado's question, I want to
Keep-
say, number one, Rado,
Just keep putting it on.
you have done an
Yeah.
amazing job with your channel. You have gone and done like that overlay stuff that you do now that brings people into the production and let people see the game close up. Absolutely love what you do. We've all been watching your stuff.
Wait, Rado
Fantastic.
does board game content?
Yeah, you're fantastic. I mean, what you
Yeah.
do is fantastic. So your question is, all right. So he
You
says,
can do this.
You
do
sound
we
like
have-
Rado.
Yeah. Do we have full J?
What are
full-time
our day jobs is
what
what
are
he's
our day
asking.
jobs? Yeah.
quick segue though, actually, because some people might not know this about Rado.
We're just not gonna
Rado's
answer
day
you.
job was doing video game development.
Yes.
And he actually developed one of my favorite video game franchises of all time, and that was Siphon Filter for the old PlayStation. When I found that out, it just kind of blew my mind.
You know,
just want to throw that out there.
And we will answer the question in a second.
We're
but
not gonna
because we're
answer.
talking about you, and I don't know if you remember this, but when I was at Brady doing strategy guides, we were once on a phone call together when he was at a game publisher. Had a very brief conversation about a game that I, for the life of me, I can't remember the name of the game. It was a first-person
Was
shooter.
it Brink?
It was Brink.
I loved that
it
game,
was
actually.
Brink. Yeah, I
never
correct
forget
me if
that
I'm
game.
wrong, but I do believe we were on a phone
He
call
said,
once.
"Oh my God, were you on that call?"
Yes, I was. Sorry if we offended the game.
That's hilarious.
Anyway, his question:
This segment
Do we have day
presented by
jobs?
Segway.
do we have day jobs? Yes. For Jeremy and I, for sure. You're watching it.
Yeah.
This is it.
It's Man vs. Meeple. It's been Man vs. Meeple since what? October 2016 for you?
Yeah. It's 3 years now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Same here. And we feel unbelievably fortunate to be able to do this. Like Jeremy said earlier, it is work, but we really can't complain because it is in an industry and doing things that we absolutely love. But yeah, when you're up late editing, you have to remind yourself of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we feel very fortunate to be doing that. And then these guys,
Go ahead, Ryan.
Well, this is kind of my day job now.
it is.
For a long time before Man vs. Meeple, I did role-playing game design and work, and I've published a few role-playing games myself. But leading up to having a kid, and knowing that I was going to be having a kid, right, it was a question of like, well, do I just quit my job, which I did end up doing, but then I focused all that extra time into doing Man vs. Meeple stuff. So I still do role-playing game design. I just am way more selective of what I do and the projects I take on. For example, I just worked on the Fallout role-playing game because it was Fallout, right? So I'll still take those jobs when they come in, but
Sure.
I much prefer this, right?
So what's the bigger priority, Man vs. Meeple or your newborn son?
Well, as you probably have found out, it's the sun. Because
is.
I've missed out on playing a lot of games
absolutely
because
is.
it's like, we don't have a babysitter.
As it should
Well,
be.
and that's why
As it should be.
that's why MVM Live Wednesdays, because we have a whole bunch of MVM Live programming, which we'll tell you about at the end of the show today. But Wednesday show, Ryan and I, we do at your house because we knew we had the baby, and so your wife
had the
comes
baby?
home. No, your wife comes home to watch him on her lunch break on Wednesdays, which is nice, or your
Yeah.
mom, which is super cool, and we do the stream, and then you go back to being dad.
Speaking of that, I saw a comment that made me kind of chuckle a little bit. On our most recent stream, somebody said that Kira and I would make the cutest couple.
Oh
and I
my.
said, have you not watched the stream? I think we'd kill each other.
Yeah, probably. We
It
would
would
fight
be,
like brother
it
and
would be
sister.
fun and cute to watch, though,
Yeah.
that happen.
To watch us
I
kill
think.
each
Yeah,
other, tear each other apart.
And Kira, what about you?
Well, I last year, so I used to run Colossal, as you guys know, and before that I worked for an agency. I mentioned that earlier, and so when I left Colossal, I just decided I really wanted to help more publishers do the things that I know, which is marketing and all that fun stuff. And so I started my own business, and so I work with a bunch of publishers to help them with Kickstarter or product launches or whatever they might need, connecting them with people like Man vs. Meeple and the like. And it's been a lot of fun. I get to work, and I have a great team. I've got a team of people that work with me and help these folks out, and it's a really good time. I get to do a lot of really neat stuff. I can't complain.
And she does some of that stuff too for Man vs. Meeple, in addition to being on Chit Chat and doing the live stuff.
Yeah,
and
this is just, I'm part of the team, right?
So Rob wants to know who would play us in a movie.
Who would play?
Who
So
would
we
play each
shouldn't
one of us in
answer.
a movie?
We shouldn't answer for ourselves.
Someone said Steve Carell would be me. I don't know
Steve
about
Carell would
I
be
could
you.
see Steve Carell playing you for sure.
Really?
I could see that. But part of Steve Carell is also a fantastic actor. So
Is that a
I could see it.
compliment
True.
for Jeremy or Steve Carell?
I could see Steve Carell playing Jeremy. I
I would have picked Jeremy Renner.
Well, I would
Oh,
pick
you know
Jeremy
what?
Renner
Jeremy
too.
Renner.
Someone
You
actually
stand
said I
corrected.
look like Jeremy.
You
Renner.
do a little
Yeah.
bit. You do a little bit.
Who's the lady in Seinfeld?
Elaine?
Do not go there.
Yes, Elaine.
Get out!
Yeah, Julie Louis-Dreyfus
Yes,
could play
yes,
Kira for
perfect.
sure.
That's
Perfect.
So I'm thinking for
not
me, like
cool.
Chris
I've
Hemsworth,
been told-
Brad
Oh, right?
Pitt, some combination.
I'm going to go with the
between-
one that I've been told. Because I was complimented by Eva Mendes. She's funny. She's cute. She can play me. I like her.
Well, we get to pick. I'll have to pick Ryan Gosling if that's the case.
yeah.
He is
You
a
said
very
Brad
good
Pitt.
actor.
Did you say Brad
Brad Pitt
Pitt?
over there playing David.
Yeah, I said
Wow.
Brad Pitt and Chris
Rado
Hemsworth.
said J.J. Abrams for me.
J.J. Abrams.
Well, he
I
doesn't.
don't have the hair.
No,
He doesn't have the
I,
hair.
wear my
I would
glasses,
say
kinda.
Jeremy Renner for sure.
Yeah, Jeremy
Oh,
Renner.
somebody else said the orphan black Tatiana Maslany. Yeah, she
Yeah,
could totally play
for
me
sure.
all day. I would be cool with that. She's cool. Somebody said I look like Cosima on our
Antonio Banderas.
Essence stream. That's hilarious.
Hey, I like this.
Oh,
Keep
God.
just saying
Just
really
keep-
attractive
I,
people
Tell
that
us.
could
So
play me.
Rado wants to know where the MVM role playing coverage is, which we've even asked you that before.
Where that's
Nice.
a great question. Here's the real answer to that. Role-playing games are incredibly difficult to cover on video. Like it would be me. We're talking about this because it would be me standing there with a book, and it's like, here's a book. Like,
There's ways of doing it though, and I think it's an untapped opportunity, particularly with your experience in there. And I've thought about it. I want to play role-playing games, and it would also be some fun maybe to even go from that
yeah.
perspective of like some guy who's never played a role-playing game.
we haven't quite cracked it yet. We've had
Yeah.
a lot of talk and a lot of different ideas about that, but we have a certain level of how we want to do things here, and I don't want to just sit on a camera or sit in front of the camera and talk for 10 minutes and say, here, I want it to look good. I want it to have high production value and show images and pictures, and how you do that for a role-playing game, and it's difficult.
He's another actor.
Rowan Atkinson.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm
that
going to
is-
get. I'm
that
going to
is
get.
great.
I'm going to get Rowan Atkinson. Is that his
Atkinson,
name?
yeah.
And here's the one that I used to get, and I hesitate to even bring this up because it might start trending. Is Paul Rubens.
Yeah, I can see
Oh my
that.
gosh, that's great.
Pre-beard, I definitely had more of a resemblance there. And it's Pee Wee Herman, in case you didn't know who Paul Rubens
This is a
was.
great question because we all love this game right now. This is Marvel Champions.
Yeah.
Who are we looking forward to most to be added as either a champion
Jeez.
or a villain scheme pack?
Can I give you my
Ooh.
Can I give you my list?
No, just give you your top one.
For each hero villain, let's do it that way.
Let's do it that way. 'Cause
Or
that's
one of the two,
Just
whatever.
one of the two.
Give me. You got to come back to me. I want to be last.
Kira, do you
Kira,
have
I
do you have
gotta-
one off the top of your head?
Marvel people?
I mean, I really, we're talking about coming up
No,
What
just
you would
whoever.
in
want.
general, because I
Just-
saw
just
that
pick
question
one.
too. I mean, I've really enjoyed playing as Captain Marvel. She's awesome. She's a total.
No,
She's
we're
already
coming
out.
up, though.
Oh, coming. That's what I just said. Coming
Yeah,
up.
yes,
And you said
coming
no,
up.
not seriously. Well, obviously Captain America.
Yeah, Captain America.
Yeah, he
Well,
looks awesome.
you don't have long to wait.
No, he's
It's
coming up
coming
next.
up.
Like Miss Marvel looks cool and everything, but I'm way more excited about Captain America.
Yeah.
So here's what I like. I watched the live stream, I think earlier this week, Fantasy Flight put out a live stream talking about some of their upcoming stuff, and they covered the Wrecking Crew, which is one of their scenarios that's going to be coming out. And some of the mechanics there were intriguing, and what it made me think of was a Sinister Six scenario pack, because the Wrecking Crew has multiple villains out. It's not just
how do you track their health?
Wave, right?
Well, that's interesting. That came up on their live stream. They said their fans will figure it out. Or you could use the dials for the heroes if you're soloing. Or if you had multiple copies, you could use the other villains. But all of those villains are out at the same time. Only one activates at a time. But imagine doing something similar like that with the Sinister Six and playing with Spider-Man. It would just be really, really cool. I'd like to see where they go with that and give opportunities. I wouldn't even be opposed to like, hey, here's a scenario just for solo play, or a variant of a scenario.
Simon Pegg. There's another one for you.
I've got two. I've got my mechanically what I would love to see, and then I have my favorite. So Iceman is my favorite. Like, I'd love to see Iceman as a character to see what they could do by like freezing and stuff.
Mechanically? Yeah.
Just pure mechanics, Ant-Man. Like, I'm so curious on how they do that character. If they make
you're gonna like play giant, 4 cards in a row to make a giant.
Yeah, if you're like building a panorama of him, like that would be super cool.
Well, I think, and that's what
X-Men.
What kind of
sure
factored into the decision was mechanics. I think Moon Knight would be super interesting. Moon Knight is Batman-esque. He has a lot of equipment. There's the whole like Egyptian god thing, but also the fact that he kind of has like multiple personalities
is he insane or
going
not?
on.
That'd be cool.
So I feel like there's definitely some like insane you could use to,
The thing about this game, and I'm newer to it than you, and you've played it a ton, Jeremy, but just in playing it a little bit, it's limitless possibilities they have with that game. They could do so much with that. I'm already thinking also about Thanos. Imagine a Thanos scenario where he's obviously collecting the Infinity Stones. Like, how cool would it be just to play through that? Because I've played the scenarios that come in the base box. They're very thematic. They really feel. There are moments where you're like, oh, I could kind of almost see that playing out like a comic book in my head.
Yeah. It is at the first hour mark. I'm not sure how much longer we're going to go, so let's give away another. We'll keep talking for a little bit.
What's over there?
Sure. Well, I'm going to let's do Cooper Island and
Watergate.
The Capstone package.
Yeah, the Capstone.
Yeah.
So, thank you to Clay over at Capstone. We're going to give away Cooper Island and Watergate, 2 fantastic games, capping off an absolutely fantastic year for them. They had these 2. They had Maracaibo. They had Crystal Palace, they had Bus, they had Pipeline.
This will be known as Capstone's
Irish
blowout
Gauge.
year.
Irish Gauge came out this year.
I mean, the list goes on. They had a phenomenal year. So we're going to give away these 2. Kira will look for something, and Cooper Island's actually on a boat right now, so you may get it right before Christmas. It's the only one of these that we don't have ready to ship right now, so it'll be very soon, though.
Well, I'm not sure. I got so excited about saying we were giving away Dice Throne that I didn't actually say thank you to Roxley for doing that. So thank you so much, Roxley and team, for providing that for the group here. And I've got Carol Johnson for the Capstone Games package.
Nice.
Carol Johnson?
Congratulations, Carol. Have fun with those.
Email us at manversusmeeple@gmail.com.
How do we want to wrap? I mean, it's been an hour.
Phone. Well, we've got questions.
Do you guys have any
more? I have a question.
Yes.
And I don't know if anybody else, but here's something I would like to know, and I think fans would like to know. Since Man vs. Meeple became, Man vs. Meeple, and we've all been part of it for a while now, I want to know everybody's favorite Man vs. Meeple memory.
Oh my gosh.
Do you have one that just sticks out?
Is this where we play like an in memoriam for Gary?
Black and white.
Well, I'm interested. I mean, is there a moment that sticks out to you guys that like, this is why we do this? Like, this is a cool thing that's happened because of this.
There's tons of moments for sure, and they kind of go into like the really exciting situations that happened.
Versus memory.
And one of those things was really early on, and I think it was 2016 Gen Con. It was our first Gen Con. No one knew who we were, and somehow the guys over at League of Legends.
Oh yeah, Riot. Yeah, I remember that.
Got a hold of us like last minute. Sunday, we drove back down to Gen Con, which we typically don't go back to Gen Con on most Sundays. We went back down there, went down to their hotel, it was like this crazy clandestine meeting where we went up to a hotel room and they showed us a finished copy of Mechs vs. Minions.
Yeah.
And we were blown away. No one knew about it at the time, and it was as gorgeous as it was, the finished version of it. They had it ready to go, and they just kind of said, yeah, we've been working on this. And you could tell they were kind of proud of it, but at the same time, they were very humbled and wanted to really know what board gamers thought of it.
Yeah.
And it was a really exciting time. We had the opportunity then to put some content out of that, on that with everyone else, of course, but it was a really exciting moment, and it was one that happened really early for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, it's probably Spiel this year. Like I've wanted to go to that show for years. I've been to 20 plus Gen Cons, and Spiel's always been this like dream place to go to. And I know it's mundane for all the people in Europe. You've been there a million times, but this was my first year I went, and I was like a kid in a candy store. You have to remember that although we touch a lot of games, we're still fans of board games and people and the people that create them and the artists around them and the designers around them. So this is the first time I had the chance to meet a lot of those European publishers and the designers and the artists, and meeting people like Clemens Franz was huge. Like I've been following his work for years, all the way back to 2009, 2008, and it's a really neat experience for us because these are kind of our rock stars. These are the people that we enjoy. I mean, some people like movie stars, some people like music stars. We like people around the board game industry. And he's a fantastic artist. So it was just a really neat experience to meet him along with other people.
Two things on that. One,
yeah.
Our industry celebrities are super cool and hang out and will play games
Approachable.
with you,
Yeah.
which is completely
Super
different than
yeah.
probably most other industry celebrities.
Rado's watching us, for God's sake.
Right. That's huge.
It really is.
It really is. Like, we love you. Thank you for watching. Number two is there still, Scott and Natalie are asking, is there still the Spiel hype after going, Jeremy?
Like the hype, yes. I mean, I definitely want to go again next year. It's a very different experience than Gen Con. It is enormous. We walked, I don't know how many steps, like 900,000 steps.
40-some miles, right?
Yeah, it was like 40-some
almost
miles when you
100,000
break
steps,
it down.
yeah.
So yeah, it's a very different experience, but absolutely want to go. I mean, the hype is there. Every year and every convention like Gen Con and Spiel, but mostly Gen Con, the new games, being around a group of people that don't get to see the games as early as we do, it's just super exciting. Like I love walking around the hall and just seeing people buy games. Like it's just super cool. And one of the best experiences of Spiel, which made me realize how healthy our industry is seeing people not buy new games. Like there are people buying games that were 4, 5, 6 years old.
Easily.
In droves, not like a couple people here and there. There were families buying bags of games that you, as an audience, as our audience, probably haven't played in years. But that was the first time they were experiencing those games. And that's super encouraging that there are people that, the hobby is growing and people are playing games that we have long since passed.
Kira, I still want to know your favorite memory, though.
Yeah.
Oh, I was going to ask you for yours because we've got all these new questions coming in.
Really
as we
quick.
keep
Was it
moving.
Chit Chat Live tonight?
It was a Chit Chat Live tonight. This has been the best. No, I have several. I think some of my favorite memories are the ones that most people don't see, and I can see people saying they want to see our blooper reels and stuff. But there have been some hilarious behind-the-scenes
true.
moments of the four of us, the three of you, the two of you. I laugh. Like there was one the other day that you showed me where Oreo apparently was down here and you were filming, and she jumped up on Jeremy. In the middle of the video. That was hilarious. I love that stuff, and those are those moments that create actual memories for us. But I mean, obviously going around at Spiel and having people see me as part of MVM, like one person actually recognized me before Jeremy. It was kind of a weird, surreal experience because I generally am like.
And that is, I will say, I've said it before, that is really cool.
That'll
never get old.
Meeting so many of fans.
Meeting
there.
fans and having people really tell us how much they appreciate the content we put out is the biggest ego boost, and it just feels good to hear that back.
Oreo's my dog, by the way.
Yeah.
For those people that don't know Oreo.
Before Ryan jumps in with his favorite, I'm going to share Gary's, which was putting up the MVM sign, building the set late night werewords after playing bad games, and hilarious outtakes from Chit Chat film.
Putting
Where
that
were-
sign was difficult.
Yeah. Sign is massive.
We had to send.
Oh, this.
Remember, Gary was like, we couldn't get it to stay up, and Gary had to go back and get his super adhesive droid tape
Yeah.
that we used to hang that thing up.
Yeah,
remember?
that's R2D2 tape
Yeah,
holding
right.
that thing up, by the way.
That's funny because it kind of looks like R2D2 a little bit.
I think so. My favorite memory, there's so many great memories of just like hanging out and playing games, like Gary said, and all the stuff that happens off camera that you don't get to see. But
Oh my.
speaking into like what you were saying about people that were fans of being fans of us, a couple years at Gen Con, a couple years ago, Simone Luciani reached out to us because he wanted to show us his new game,
Yeah.
which was Barrage,
Yeah.
because he was such a big fan, and we got to go meet him and talk to him and play a game with him. He's one of my favorite designers. I mean, Marco Polo was one of my favorite games of all time. So knowing that he knew who we were and that he was a fan of us, like that's huge.
No,
Like,
it
that's
is-
cool stuff.
All that's really cool, and this is going to sound a little sappy, but also just meeting a lot of the people, not just game designers, but other content creators, in the last couple of years has been huge for me. Like I'm close. I feel like I'm close friends. They'll probably correct me in the comments. I feel like I'm close friends with a lot of these people who do podcasts, like Rob at Blue Peg Pink Peg, Rodney at Watch It Played, Rado. These are people that I watched way before I was in Man vs. Meeple, learning
Yeah.
board games. And the fact, honestly, that Rado's commenting to us in our comments on this live broadcast is really, really cool.
I gotta say, Rodney has been a great help for us in the channel too. Like
Yeah.
Rodney's been, and this is something that I've seen in the board game industry is that like we are pretty quick to help each other out, and this
Yeah.
is like publishers even too. I see publishers chiming in, helping other publishers sell their games and things like that. Like it is not a super competitive, cutthroat world. I know a lot of people have looked at some of the things we've said and some of the things Dice Tower have said and thought, oh, there's this huge rivalry.
Right.
That doesn't exist. Like we love the Dice Tower, and the Dice Tower loves us. Like we might make some jokes at each other's expense
Sure.
from time to time, but this industry is just very supportive of itself, and I really like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think becoming friends with the people that we listen to or watch has been nice. Rob being one of them. He's
Yeah.
in here saying awkward, so I'm going to make it more awkward. We love you, Rob.
He's
You're
my
the
boy.
best.
He's my board game boyfriend.
That is what is being discussed here in the
boy.
comments.
Oh boy, how does
It's weird.
Isaac Childress feel about that?
Oh
I don't
my.
know.
Is he like the third wheel?
Yeah, he is the third wheel.
Oh my gosh.
So, what are we going to do next? So, there's been a couple other questions. Do we want to answer
Let's
one
ask-
more before
well,
the end here?
Let's answer a couple more questions and
Yeah.
then wrap it up.
Yeah.
How often do you change the boxes on the wall? Whenever we feel
I
like
said
it.
I already commented in the comments every time.
People
Whenever-
ask
Not
us,
every. These have been up here for. Well,
no, we just put some of
some
those
of these
up.
are up.
Boxes
Oh yeah,
up.
the
We put up
There's
taverns.
no rhyme or reason to what you see behind us. It's just whatever's over there, we just put it up here.
We're like, what do we like right now? What looks good on the wall too is big.
Well,
big part of
honestly,
it.
to be absolutely candid, it's whatever boxes are sitting closest to us, and if there's empty spaces, we pick up a box
Yeah.
and put it up there.
yeah.
So yeah.
Well,
there
yeah, and
you
usually
go.
the games that are sitting closest to us are the newest games, so it does kind of work out.
Sure. Yeah, we're not putting up a lot of games that we're not enjoying. That's
All
for
Right.
sure.
right. So did anyone watch? This is a South Park question. I don't think any of us watched South
Yes,
Park.
I
Oh
did.
yeah,
Did you?
oh
Okay.
they've been really
Awesome.
apping up their board game
Well,
references lately.
So they have for a long
Trey's a
time.
huge gamer.
Yeah.
The boys love board
Oh,
games,
yeah.
and they've gone out, they've talked to publishers and had certain games in the actual show, one of which was Western Legends right around the time I was leaving Colossal, and it was just so exciting for the whole team and for everyone there. And I think it's super cool that they love the games and the hobby, and they bring them into the actual show versus just having something generic on the table. They've had Zombicide, they've had, I know I've seen a handful.
Oh, they've
on
had
the
it now.
show.
They're seeing board games just in the background
On the
Yeah.
shelf, yeah.
on the shelves of the houses.
Because that's like our houses, right?
Right.
Like they are gamers. They're big gamers. We saw Trey at Gen Con, actually.
And more recently, and like a couple weeks ago, they actually did a parody of Dice Tower's Board Game Breakfast.
Really?
Where they were, they did the whole opening of Board Game Breakfast in South Park style. And
Oh,
it was one of the
wow.
characters' dads had his own like review show. It wasn't board games; he wasn't reviewing.
Oh, I see.
But
they
they
parodied Board Game Breakfast.
parodied Board Game Breakfast
Cool.
for
Yeah.
his review, which is like that's kind of interesting
That's
to me. That
super cool.
other, they used to be like when they talk about a board game in a show like that, it was like they had Clue, where like they would connect 4 off the shelf. Now you're seeing Settlers of Catan or Azul and things like that in like TV shows and
There was
stuff.
Settlers Catan in the show we just watched recently.
oh yeah, it was
Oh,
Daybreakers.
the Daybreak?
Daybreakers. That's a really good TV
damn
show.
near all the Settlers of Catan.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
So he's like, because he had all the different ones. He's like, yeah, damn near all the Settlers of Catan in here.
Let's give away Joan of Arc. This is... All right, so Joan of Arc is a massive miniatures game from Mythic Games. We're going to give away the core set, the Reliquary core set, the Dragon expansion, the playmat, and then also...
Super
the
exclusive
super
promo
exclusives from the
season
first Kickstarter that you cannot get from the second Kickstarter.
Wow.
It's a massive
We're
box.
giving away this now?
Yeah.
Right now.
right.
Yeah.
People have like 5
We're
minutes to get
still
your
talking.
comments
We're
in.
still going, so we might as well.
Yeah.
Just make comments and you'll be entered. Have you guys been playing anything recently? Like this
board
over the past?
games?
Yeah, we always talk about the games we've been playing, and I don't feel like we've talked about many games.
Let's talk
Yeah,
about
you know,
our
it's,
games.
let's
it's
do
weird to
that.
me. Like, being in this industry and like playing so many games, like so many new hot games, I went into my game night. I have a game night every Tuesday night, and there was a group of people playing, struggling to learn Wingspan, which I'll be honest, it's like already kind of left my mind. It was so hot earlier this year, and I'm like, it's crazy to me that people are just learning about Wingspan, right? Like, it's
Do you
just
think it's because of the new expansion or just general?
no, they just picked it up off the shelf.
Well,
right?
I think,
So-
it's recently come back into stock in a lot of
So I
stores.
sat down and played Wingspan with them again, and it just reminded me, like, I do really, like, I've grown to really enjoy that game because I gave it so many tries. And as I was playing it, I was thinking, like, well, how many other games did I just not like because I only played it once? I didn't really give it time to sink in or, like, to really learn how the strategies are played. How many games would I love now if maybe I had given them 2 or 3 plays? But time is so limited, it's really hard to do that.
It's true. First impressions do mean a lot, though. And I remember your first impression of Wingspan. You did not like it.
No,
You
not
thought
at
it
all.
was really random, like you couldn't build a good engine. I think that's the allure for me, is that you do the best you can with what you're given. And that's, there's so many cards that you're never going to have a perfect game every time you play that.
No, and I think part of what
And I would imagine you enjoy that, because being a Magic player, obviously you get to build your own deck in
Right.
Magic, but you are dealing with your best possible combination of cards.
I think there was a couple things. My first game of Wingspan, for instance, you had one of your best games, and I had a really bad game. And part of the thing about Wingspan is, like, with other engine builders, you're either going to draw a card that fits in your engine, or you're not. And part of the thing about learning a game like that is learning how to tell if your engine is going to be successful. Like, knowing the cards in the game, knowing the kind of things that you're going to see, like, you can tell pretty easily, like, if you're building an engine that just your chances of drawing that card is like 10%, right?
Yeah.
So you can start to hedge your bets and learn how to manipulate those things over time.
That's a game that begs to be played more than once. To
It really
understand
does.
all the
Oh, yeah.
mechanisms
For sure.
behind it. So, yeah. What I've been playing? So Death May Die, which Cthulhu Death May Die from Eric Lang and Rob Davio. I played my 3rd game of that today, and I have still not beaten a single one of them.
You're soloing it?
Yeah, well, yeah, you can play it up to 4 players. You can play it solo, but you have to play with 2 investigators.
I see.
And the idea behind the game is you have a boss or a monster, and the core set comes with Cthulhu and Hastur. And then you take that box out and you mash it with one of the 6 episodes. And you take them and you mash them together, and you have a deck of cards, some Mythos cards, and it just tells you how to, you basically have a landscape and a story that you have to defeat the monster in X number of time before you go insane. But it's really hard. Like, it's extremely challenging, which I enjoy from a cooperative game. I don't want a game that's easy to beat. I tend to go back to those type of games like Last Bastion or Ghost Stories that are challenging to play, and this is a really, really challenging game, but it's also really fun.
Somebody told me that it was kind of like they used the others, like the mechanics from the game The Others. Is that
I've not played
true?
the others.
Like, because I think that game doesn't get enough love. Like, the way that you take an action and then give an action to the enemy, like, it's just like a super interesting.
I didn't feel any of that.
Well,
but
see,
I'm not 100%
I haven't
sure.
played Death May Die yet. It's really high on my list of games to try.
Yeah, I don't know.
Under Maracaibo.
So I've got 2 games. One is Cartographers, which I had not played.
Really?
No.
Oh, role player game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in this world of roll and writes, where my attitude towards roll and writes, I feel like I've been a little saturated, the market with roll and writes. They all came hot and heavy for a long time, and I kind of lumped them all together, and I liked them, all right, but I was a little tired of the whole concept. But Cartographers is really fun, and it's a really inventive way on the roll and write, and I think it's probably near the top of my list for roll and writes for sure. And it's not really a roll and write, but you're flipping cards and you're filling out this map, and if you use colored pencils, it's really cool what it can end up looking like at the end.
It looks really fun.
The other game, and I might have mentioned this last time, I played Gaia Project for the first time a couple weeks ago, and I've played it like 3 or 4 times total now in the last couple weeks. And this is not a game that I would typically play, but
Nope.
I am digging it. It's a really, really good game.
What about you?
Me?
Yeah.
I don't know, what have we been playing? We played a lot of stuff. Namiji was
Oh, the
new
Takedo kind of thing?
I like Takedo, and I knew this was coming, so I actually donated my copy away because I haven't played it in a long time. I like having it on the shelf for new gamers to bring over. I really like what Namiji did to the original Takedo, so it was good. It's a nice looking prototype. Played Orleans Stories. I did not like it.
Yeah.
It was
Well, you
big
played
thumbs
Liftoff
down
with
for
us
me.
too, didn't you?
Played Liftoff. Loved that. That was great. If you have not
Yeah,
checked that
Liftoff's
out,
good.
you guys should
That's what I'm
definitely
sad
check
I
it
missed.
out.
I need to play that.
You will love it. I really think you'll like it a lot.
Yeah, obviously Marble Champions. I've been playing that, teaching my husband. And then Flick of Faith. Big fan of Flick of Faith, having just another dexterity game around the house. Haven't broken into my 4 elements yet because I'm still peeling all the stickers
have
off.
it?
There's all these stickers on it, and they are
They put like plastic film to protect both
Oh,
sides.
yeah.
Yeah,
That's
it
a
is
process.
not,
Yeah.
and I'm just, it's
It's like the old Mythic, or not the Mystic Veil cards.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Peel
like,
the-
or
peel both
stickering all the
sides.
wooden tokens in Orleans for the first time.
I oddly like doing that sort of thing sometimes, though.
Sometimes.
When we played on Wednesday, we played Azul Summer Pavilion. What
yeah.
did you, that was your first time playing
Oh.
that, second time playing Azul ever.
Yeah, so I've only played Azul once with you and Isaac and somebody else. Was
Original
there.
Azul?
Yeah, Indie PopCon this year, and then because it just, I don't know, it never really appealed to me for whatever reason, and I figured I'd play it eventually, and I liked it okay. And then we played the Summer Pavilion one again. I was just kind of like, it looks fine. It's very pretty, but I actually like this one. Probably the better of the two for sure. I don't know. I still can't say for sure if I'd get it and put it on my shelf, but I know people who would like it, so it's a possibility. But it's not one that like I'm rushing out to get by any means. I know you guys approved it though. You
Oh
liked
yeah,
it.
I'm a big Azul fan. The original, not so much the second one as much as the first, and then this new one might end up being higher on my
good.
list than
I
just
really
because
like
of the
this new one,
combos.
yeah.
The combos that you can pull off is such a satisfying thing that the original Azul doesn't have.
I love this comment from Jason Cordone. He says, Cult of the New is getting bad. My local game store has a graveyard section of great games that are marked down.
And they released last week.
Yeah,
Yeah, right?
This is a problem. I mean, this is something I don't think enough of us tackle because we do propagate the Cult of the New. That's
Sure.
typically what we do as a channel and what a lot of the board game channels do. And it's natural. I mean, people are interested about the new stuff. But it's become a problem. One of our friends, Andrew, which you've probably seen if you watch our some of our live stuff, Andrew Smith put up a little tweet today that said, I had X number of Kickstarters that I backed. I've received this many of them, and this is how many I still own.
I saw that. Yeah.
So I challenged myself to go look in my list to see how many games that I've received. And I received like 67, 67 I think was the number
Kickstarters?
that I've received. I have another 25 on the way. And then out of those, I have like 24
backed
of
a lot
them
of
still in my collection. But I could probably pare it down to 15 because there's probably 9 of them that I don't even play. That's a pretty low percentage of hits from Kickstarter. I don't know what that says, and I don't know if I'm just kind of guessing the answer, but my guess is that there's too many games. Like, there's just too many games out right now. People are always going to search for the new, and we're just as at fault for that as well. Rodney made a really good point a long time ago when I put up a post about trying to cull my collection. He's like, Jeremy, there's going to be 3,000 new games next year. Just get rid of the stuff that you don't play. And that's really hard for me as a collector too, to get rid of things because I have attachments to some of those games. Some of them I know will never be reprinted or will be printed years from now or maybe not at all. And it's really hard for me to get rid of things, but also I'm a collector too. So I like to have the games that I like to have, even though I won't play them. But I have to remember in the back of my mind that there are going to be thousands of new games
You need the
every year.
space. I did a massive call just over the last couple of months where I've been putting them in boxes. We knew Teachers Treasures here in Indianapolis had reached out to us asking for donations. And I know we're going to have another round of it from just our stuff, but I actually almost everything I sent was from my own collection, and I think I took 6 boxes of stuff to Teachers Treasures. So because they want board games for all different ages for all the schools, which is super cool. I know that they're going to be put to good use, and it was tough to make the decision. Like Takedo, like I said, was one of those, but I was like, people are going to enjoy this, and I haven't played it in years. The only reason I think Zombicide didn't get out of my collection was because it's still being painted. It's like half painted. So
I ran into that recently too. Every time one of our local stores has an auction, you can take some of your games there and have them resell and get some store credit, which is awesome. And I'll go through, and this time more than ever, I got rid of some games that I think in the past I looked at and I said, well, I don't play it, but man, that's kind of like it's an important game in board gaming history sort of thing, and I usually keep those. One of those games, Takanoko, I've had forever. It's one of the first games I bought, so it has kind of a special place in my heart. But does it get played much? No, I don't play it that much. However, this is what I did, and this is what I've decided to do or try to do. I got it out, and we played it. And if it sort of like made me happy, I keep it.
Right.
And it did. I played it, and I had one of those experiences where I was like, you know what? I forgot what a fun little game this was. So it's still on my shelf. I still kept Takanoko. So I can't do that with all the games when I'm preparing to call. Right. But I'm going to try to start doing that with some of those.
That's a hard one to get rid of too for me, because I have the.
Well, you have the gorgeous one.
Yeah, I actually have it like on display with the little
the
guys
real bamboo.
It's part of my collection more than anything else anymore.
Anything that's like that for me is.
It's hard, yeah.
I've started to look at it because now that I have a son, he's 1 year old. Soon he'll be 1, and I'm looking at some of these games, and I'd like to play games with him. I'd like for him to grow up as a gamer, and it's like, will I want to play that game with him? Will I want to teach this game to him when he's older? So a game like Railroad Revolution.
Oh, Railroad.
Russian Railroads.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I can't even.
One of those railroad games.
Russian Railroads, which is one of my favorite games. It's like, or Orleans. If these games don't get reprinted, and I sell it, that might be it, right? It's like, do I never want to play Russian Railroads again? Well, I'm going to want to teach that to Oliver someday. I'm going to want to teach him Orleans, right? So that's kind of helped shape what I keep. And it's amazing. So many games that I love now, I'm like, am I going to care in 10 years about this game? No, I could never play this game again now and be okay.
That's so weird that you went back to Russian Railroads, because I just did the same with Sarah and I, and we played through all 3 of them, Russian, German, and American. And we had a great experience. Like, I love that game. But you also just recently played Russian, right?
No. Well, I did, and I enjoyed it. First Class.
First Class you didn't.
First Class I played, and I did get rid of it.
Did you?
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
Because I played it actually at RobCon. Rob has a little thing where he has a bunch of guys in a cabin for a weekend, and we played. I pulled it out, and I taught it to some people, and it just didn't do what I remember it doing for me originally. It was like that Takanoko experience, but the opposite. I played it and I was like, eh.
You were talking about making combos. That game you can combo all day.
Yeah. Well, see, the thing is, and it's not just like Russian Railroads, but there is definitely some DNA shared between those games. And I said to myself, I'm going to keep Russian Railroads and its expansions. And I was fine getting rid of First Class because
Did you play all the modules?
No, I didn't play all the modules. I just played sort of the basic version with, I think, whatever the suggested module was. But it was the first time I played it in like 2 years also. So I'm like, I can get rid of this.
So I have a question. I'm going to ask you guys so I can pick a. That's what I'm getting ready to do. Perfect. So I'm going to ask you guys a question for you to talk about. I'm going to then do my scroll. Everybody's been asking me how I pick. I scroll and I stop it, and that's who the winner is. So while I'm doing my scroll, another question from Rado, just because I think it's a good one. Walk us through your weekly gaming habits. How much, where, who, and who with. Okay. So I'm gonna.
Well, I'll start, but I do want to mention. Don't let Jeremy give away Tainted Grail. We want to give that away after the fact.
That's a grand prize.
We'll announce the winner for Tainted Grail on the next Chit Chat.
Yeah, because we want to give people who are not tuned in right now an opportunity as well.
We'll give considerations for the people that are tuning in.
Yeah.
We'll figure out a way to do the math.
To get bonus entries.
Bonus entries for it, because that is the Tainted Grail plus Monsters of Avalon, all Sundrop.
I will
And if
treat
you
it
haven't-
the same way that I treat MVM Live, because that's how we do MVM Live. I
Okay.
have a way that I do the winners for that after the fact.
So gaming habits for a week. I'll just walk you through it. During the weekend, my gaming life is compartmentalized this way. During the weekend, I play games with my wife Alicia and either her children, and probably not my children because they don't like playing board games anymore. So that's what that's the time I have to play games with Alicia. Then start Monday morning. We're playing games throughout the week. We have to schedule some of our preview content games. So those are games that kind of we're doing for work, so we have to get them played. We have to understand them enough so that we can communicate to people about those games. Then I do sometimes get over to Ryan. Tuesday night you mentioned is Family Time Games, which is our local store. Very rarely, but I will go over there sometimes and play some games. And then Wednesday I have a game night with a couple buddies of mine who we pretty religiously every week. And then not as much lately, but in the past, Thursday, this nights we'd do chit chat and then we'd play games all night or for a good portion of the evening. So that would be the other aspect, and that brings us right back to the weekend. So
Yeah, I mean, primarily follow his schedule, but also we'll try to schedule some big game. Typically, David doesn't usually play in some of those larger games because they're long. Like we played Clank for 8 hours in a row. We played Betrayal for 8 hours in a row. We played Detective from Portal for
Lord of the Rings. We played a long time.
We played
Really?
all day sessions of stuff, and they're long and they're grueling. But those we typically do because we're super interested about the game. And then I'll play on weekends with my wife. Sometimes these guys will come over on maybe a Sunday if we have something that we want to play through. I know right now we're interested in like Tainted Grail. Sleeping Gods, which is coming out soon, as a game that we'll be playing through.
Yes.
Low memory.
For sure.
Low memory. So there's a number of those more campaignish games that we'll play weekends or late night. And that's usually from like 6 until midnight or so.
And I'll say this one last thing about Jeremy too. He's like a kid on Christmas morning with any game that comes across the front doorstep. So a lot of his gaming habits are built around
What showed up?
the newest thing that showed up.
It's fun to open up those boxes.
He'll send us pictures in various communications that we have. Say, look what showed up. He teases like just with a brown box, and then all of a sudden he has it set up and he's playing it solo. So
Yeah, so so like gaming. So David talked about I'm like religious about the Tuesday night group. I try to be there every week. There's always new gamers there. Like every week somebody shows up that's new, either to gaming or to the area or to the group or whatever. There's also one on Thursday nights that I like to go to. However, we do this every other Thursday, so I kind of alternate between those. And then here in Indy, we have a lot of gaming meetups. Every Saturday there is a gaming meetup. It kind of rotates from one person's house to another. And so I'll go to one or two of those. I like to keep some of my weekends free for my family. Like we'll do stuff on the weekends, but I'll go to maybe one or two of those a month, and then here 2 or 3 nights a week playing games. Just and then
Lately,
I play.
Though. You've been baby.
you got Oliver.
Well, I have
man.
Oliver, so. But I'll still as soon as my wife gets home, and she'll take over. She works during the day, and then I'll come over here because there's so many, like you said, the preview games that we have to play, and just some of the new hotness games that we want to get out of the way. I mean, I used to come over and maybe play all day, but we have to schedule those now.
Things change as you get older.
Luckily, I have plenty of family and babysitters that'll if I need to block off a day to come play games, I can do that. So
Someone's making fun of my Cubs hat.
Before I jump into my gaming habits, I'll go ahead and announce the winner because everybody is
drum roll?
freaking out.
Wait,
So
okay,
This is for Joan of Arc.
Yeah.
I've also been trying to remember this because I scrolled forever ago and then I wanted to keep up with the comments, so I went back. So Nerfenstein, please email us at manversusmeeple@gmail.com.
Is that AKA Girly Gamer?
Yes, that one.
right.
Nerfenstein's
Oh, yeah,
blue
Nerfenstein.
with the pink.
I see that name.
She's on our live stream too. So
Yeah.
congratulations, manversusmeeple@gmail.com. Address and phone number, please, when you email us, and make sure you note which game you won, just to help us, because your email may not reflect your username on YouTube. So thank you and congratulations. My gaming habits are: I come over here because you live 5 minutes away. and do that. Or sometimes I'll go to Family Time Games occasionally. But mostly I look forward to KGI, which is a monthly meetup here in Indianapolis area. They travel around the different ones. We actually have one this Saturday. And then when my husband's actually off work and it works out with our friends on the east side, we'll go over Kevin and Coco and play with them. And they've gotten frustrated with me because of the way we play. So I've had to, they reminded me last time I have to adjust. Cause I'm like, oh, let's play this game. And then I'll put it away and they're like, well, let's play it again. I'm like, why? Because there's like 10 games in my bag. So I've had to adjust how I play with them, but it's a lot of fun. So those are my gaming habits. And occasionally at home.
Well, cool. Guys, thank you for stopping by on Chit Chat 50. We gave away a bunch of games. Obviously, we're going to give away Tainted, Grail, and the Monsters of Avalon expansion on the next Chit Chat. So just make comments below. Everyone who's already made comments is already entered to win that. That is the Sundrop version of it. A couple other announcements. Number one, we have a Kickstarter coming up in about a week or so.
Yep, very soon.
Friday.
It's our Season 3 Kickstarter. Please participate. We have promos, we have bundles, typical things that we've done in the past. We appreciate any kind of support, even vocal support. It doesn't have to be money. So whatever you guys want to contribute, that'd be fantastic. Also, we have the 12 Days of Christmas coming up very soon. A whole bunch of new content for the year. Thank you guys so much for supporting us. Episode 50, we've eternally gracious for all the publishers, all the consumers, all the viewers who have continually tuned in to Chit Chat, to watch our channel, to support us on this, on MVM Live, on our reviews, our previews, and all the other content that we deliver. If you guys ever have any questions, please feel free to make them in these comments. Join our Discord channel.
For sure.
Talk there all the time with all of you who are in there, along with ourselves, talking about new games, things we want to cover, movies, entertainment, video games, all those type of things. So please feel free to join our Discord channel. And thanks for watching. Anything you guys want to say before we...
A special thank you, I think, to Broken Token for kind of
Absolutely.
supporting a lot of what we do. We've had a lot of great support outside of just traditional board game publishers. Rathskeller has done a lot for us. Game Toppers has done a lot for us. But Broken Token really likes what we do here at Chit Chat.
They came to help out specifically with Chit Chat a while ago. And Chit Chat, to be quite candid, is probably one of our more favorite things to do here. We love just sitting around talking about games. This gives us an opportunity to do it in front of the camera. And Broken Token sponsored us now for at least a year and a half, right? So we really appreciate the support there. So make sure and go out and patronize Broken Token.
I have a couple of things. So one, I want to say thank you to our other team members who aren't here in Indiana. So Ella in Australia, Kevin out in Washington, and Jeremy up in Wisconsin. Thank you so much for being a part of things. Join us in the comments, adding to other personalities to our channel. And so on that note, you can see Jeremy Howard every Sunday afternoon on Facebook Live doing a solo stream, which we will then upload to YouTube after the fact. Ryan and I do our Wednesday live stream every Wednesday at noon Eastern. I'm going to start doing the weekly rewind on Sunday nights, so kind of probably around 8 o'clock.
Magic Monday.
Magic Monday for
nights.
Ryan every Monday at around 8 or 9 p.m., right? And then we're going to be doing some cool pop-up live stuff for some of our fun campaign games, probably Low Memory, maybe Tainted Grail, so stay tuned for information on that. And again, join our Discord, follow us on social media at Man vs. Meeple on all 3 social networks, and that's all I have.
And join us on PS4 as we play Fallen Order tonight.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
I might not be playing, but I'll be watching The Mandalorian for sure.
I will also be watching The Mandalorian tonight for sure.
Sleeping through the download.
All right. Thanks, guys, for tuning in, and we will see you guys next time.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.